Welcome to episode 8 of the Diary of a Wayshower with myself, Lynn Flowers, and I again here to talk, here to share just my share my reality right now, and what comes up for me. In the last episode, I spoke about why I was targeted, so you understand why I had to go through what I went through. And I'm going to be really honest here. I always had a fear that people would judge me, for what I've been through, that they would consider me weak or inferior. you know, or how could you allow yourself to do this? How could you allow yourself to be targeted or abused or mind controlled? Uh, this was just my thought process, yeah. My thought process thinking, I can't talk about it properly. I can't because I don't want people to judge me. I don't want people to think that I am infiltrated or I am like satanically overshadowed. All of those things that you worry about, or that people won't come and work with me because of my history. And I feel so much better in sharing why I was targeted and that I chose to come in and do it and undertake the experience, knowing that I was dismantling the black magic grids associated with satanic ritual abuse, and that there was a percentage of that coming from my father's line, and so I was coming in to dismantle that and heal and alchemize it, which has liberated me in a way and has made me feel so much better in knowing that people are not going to judge me. If they judge me for that, that's fine. Like, they're not my people. They are not my tribe. They are not my soul family. They are entitled to their own opinion of what they think. And another thing, me worrying about, because I do teach ascension. I teach, I know I'm a master healer, and I've got amazing healing techniques that I bring down from my I Am Presence and the Councils of Light. And I just, then you worry that people are going to think that you're tainted, or, like they don't work in your presence because you've been linked to satanic energy and all that. You know what I mean? All of that was running around in my brain and making me actually feel inferior, and almost wanting to hide, yet wanting to be of service, wanting to deliver that mission that I know I've got and the healing protocols I've got, because I've been through the experience, and as a way shower, I'm a 33 life path. I know that I'm way showing for others. So, just everything hitting in the mix. And it's interesting, before I was just watching a video for a minute on YouTube. And it's about someone coming out, they were gay, well, they're bisexual, and they got a huge following on YouTube before that, and then suddenly they're coming out as gay and announcing it, in a video, and people are, the mix of some people really behind them going, "Oh, you're very brave," and blah blah blah, and then some people turning on them and being very unpleasant, which is not nice. But what I'm trying to say is, it does feel like I've come out. I'm not coming out though. You're all right. I'm heterosexual. But well, whatever. But like, I'm. It's like, it feels like I've come out. It feels like I've declared who I am. I've said why it happened, and I feel then more empowered. I feel more empowered to hold my head up high and be counted. So I do. I feel so much better. I feel so much more liberated by speaking out and explaining why this happened. Because, as I say, there's always a part of me, or there was a part of me, worried. And I've had people treat me that way, and that's fine. It's their journey, their reality. But I've had people treat me that way where they have like not trusted me and have said that to me, or that, you know, all these things. And of course, that hurts incredibly. But you have to move on. You have to just go on. And I know what it's like for people and survivors of MK Ultra and satanic ritual abuse, because they will be infiltrated, and I mean that. Like, they'll have lines of interference in them, and those lines of interference, if you know, if they're not at a stage where they're at tipping point where they can control that, then they can be manipulated. And you know, and so that is something that I am fully aware of within my own soul matrix. What I would say is that evidently, you know, my lines of interference started to fall away quite quickly, but and I evidently alchemized, inner alchemized lots of energetic like tags and things on me from the time I woke up, and that's why I now can explain, and it can explain to me why I seem to be on a deadline. It was like I was being pushed every day to go deeper into my own healing. Every day I was so diligent in writing down everything that I dreamt about, everything that came up, and then I asked the question, what's that about? And as I say, I had no idea I'd been MK Ultra'd or satanically ritually abused till 2020. So I woke up in 2009. So it took me 11 years to climb up the ladder, to start to do layers and layers, till I got to a tipping point as such, where I tipped into full awareness of what had happened to me. Well, not full awareness, partial awareness actually. Partial awareness of what had happened to me by me digging about, realizing that there was some sort of history of abuse with me in the background. I mean, I've got so many stories about this, of what happened. Like, you know, one of the earliest memories of me realizing I think I've been abused was when I went for an activation, a causal activation up in the Midlands, and it was called Angelic Alchemy, and it was a day course, and I just kept being guided to go. And this was very early on in 2010, probably. Was it 2010 or 2011? Do you know, I can't remember. It'd be 2010. And it's so interesting now, I didn't hold on to that information. I couldn't. So I remember quite clearly doing this day course with this person, and they're doing an activation to clear your causal chakra, right? Now, that's the one above the crown chakra. Now, I remember sitting there, and as soon as she did it, there was like, I felt dizzy, and a thing dropped right in my head saying, your uncle, I won't say his name, but your uncle da 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 abused you. That came right in at the moment of that activation. And then it seemed to float away. And I wrote it down in my journal, I remember that. But I was completely like, what? And it's really interesting that I like conveniently forgot that. It was like I wasn't meant to hold on to that, and I couldn't hold on to it with the mind control. So it sort of like went again. And that was 2010. And it was only really, there's another incident. I was talking to a lady in America who was a mentor who worked with the Isis energy. And she was talking to me about mentoring me, right? And as I'm talking to her, because she was a former survivor of sex trafficking, right? And had successfully healed herself, and, you know, was successful in earning money and da 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 da. And I'm talking to her about mentoring me, and suddenly I get a brief insight. Something comes through my mind again about being abused and out again. I remember that bit, and then it just didn't register again. I couldn't hold on to it. So I must have been talking to her in around 2017, somewhere around there. Uh, and I'd been mentored before that by a high profile person who's got a huge following, and I spent a lot of money. It was £2,500 at the time, and that was 2014, right? 2,500. And I I took a loan out for that, I seem to remember, something like that. And it never came up in that at all, in any shape or form. So I wasn't meant to see it. So therefore, evidently, they weren't letting her see it either. Because if you're not ready to see it or tackle it or handle it, and it's not at the right time, then it won't be shown to the person either, really. So that was never mentioned then. And then it got to 2020, and as I mentioned in an earlier episode, that Sanat Kumara started wanting to work with me in the pyramid energy, and he was trying to open the veils of illusion for me, and he did. He didn't try, he did. He assisted me in opening up that, so I could start to see what had happened to me. Now, because I'd done years of soul healing for others and worked out some protocols and stuff like that, I suppose I was at a point where 2020 where I knew that I probably could bring the protocols quickly to sort myself out, because I did try going to group. I've said before, I went to a group work with this, and it just wasn't working. I knew it wasn't the way to do it, and you're not going to re-traumatize yourself by being in a group of people that are all talking about what happened to them in great detail. And that is some of the problems with satanic ritual abuse. The energy of the abuse, and the way that it is sort of weaved into the soul, it's sort of very hard to get out of that energy. And talking about it does not help, not in great detail, if you know what I mean. You know, the actual memories of and details of what happened. So, and that, as I say, just I think you're looshing it, and they're taking the loosh from that, and that's where my work and taking down part of those grids, including the Baphomet grid, actually helps them not to loosh that energy from those people that are still hooked up. Because if they're still running a satanic contract, they will be looshing off them. And so if that's the one most important thing I would say for anybody who knows someone who survived satanic ritual abuse or is a healer and it works with them, you must break the contract, because they have either come in like me under the contract of my father, where then they immediately have access to you, right, through the blood contract, and you break that contract and you heal and alchemize it. And you don't only heal and alchemize it for you, you heal and alchemize it for your ancestors and your parents. And that is how we deal with it. Yeah. So, and it's imperative to claim divine soul sovereignty. Imperative to lodge that with the courts of heaven. But there are many people out there, therapists and people, been dealing with survivors of this for years, and know some of these things and do them probably in other ways. But the protocols that the councils of light want to bring now are much more advanced, and they're quicker, and that's what we're talking about, because we want to take people out of the suffering quicker. So that, you know, is really important. So yeah, it's I was really like, that was a big thing for me, is like people won't trust me. They'll think I'm hooked up, da 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 da, you know, all of that. But 2020, when I discovered I had been, and it then sort of like came apart really quick, and I was able to like heal the the symbols on the back of my heart to stop me opening up my heart stargate as such. My pearl energy had been taken, and lots of people's pearl energy has been taken, especially in these rituals. And your pearl is your God spark, so they're taking part of your God spark away from you and using it for something else. Now, they cannot strip you of it completely. That is not, because that, no way can they take the disconnection from the divine away from you against your will. They can't do that. But they can take part of your pearl energy away from you, right? And that then, pearl energy, is your soul energy. And then they use that and invert it and use it for nefarious purposes. And my pearl energy had been taken, and they were using it in the Great Pyramid in Egypt. And a very amazing couple of powerful souls, master souls here on the earth right now. There's many of us here, you'd be surprised. And there's many master souls here, and maybe more well-known ascended masters, true ones, that are incarnating or coming in as walk-ins at this crucial time. I'll say that. And my pearl was being hijacked and used in a demonic way in the Great Pyramid, and it was fueling duality on the planet. And it was almost like extending the timeline of duality using some of my pearl. So two amazing souls with some others went and assisted me in taking that pearl energy back. We got it back. And then that pearl was returned to me. Now, as soon as that pearl energy came back to me, that was when I realised I had 5 altars, and they were locked away. And they had been used in the past for other things. Now, as I started to gain control of my energy field and soul matrix, they were like becoming a bit defunct. They weren't actually working or being used. They weren't being accessed. So when that pearl energy came back, that was the key. Suddenly then, my soul we had enough power to be able to then release the altars. So the altars were sent back to source. They weren't reintegrated into me. They were sent back to source. And I feel that was lovely, because those altars are part of my consciousness with their own experiences of what happened to them during those years I was being used, if that makes sense. So like soul fragments and splinters. So actually they just went back to source for healing, and back to the source of everything. So they went back to bliss and nirvana and divine love and everything you think of, which actually felt really good for me. And that made such a difference when they went, because the fragmentation then was healed. Yeah. And then I could heal my core inner child really quickly. Yeah. And get her into healed and out of fracture. And then of course then that has a cascade effect on your energy field and soul matrix in a very, very powerful way. So that's the protocols, you see, that came from that journey with me. And I'm trying to skim over it because there's so much about that and so much that comes from that. But you can imagine, if I can heal from extreme fracturing of my inner child, and I can then, anybody can heal those fractures of whatever they are, whether it is just inner child abuse, and there's a fracture of their inner child, or they've got an inner child that is an aspect is trapped or been taken, or whatever. We can deal with all of that, and to actually though as well be able to heal the disassociated parts. So I must have had dissociated identity disorder, which I had it, and I had those altars, but I never ever experienced them consciously in any shape or form. Only when the pearl energy came back, I could hear them talking in my head. It was weird, and it freaked me out. And it only lasted a few days before they went. So they went within like 2-3 days. Boom, they were gone. And then everything it was just me. It was just me. But that was a really odd and weird experience, and I really would not want to live that again, to be honest. But it wasn't as scary as you think. And so there is the technology now to be able to send those alters back to source. So you can take someone who's got 29 different personalities, and you can send those personalities back to source, because they're just splits in the consciousness. So you're sending them back to the whole again. They don't need them, if you know what I mean. So, that's something amazing that came from that. And yeah, it is possible. You can heal all of that. It's entirely possible. But as I say, it was a bit of a scary thing. But I now realise that my soul, wow, I was compensating really well. I suppose due to the strength and the resilience I've got and my core inner strength, I was able to operate and not even realise they were there. It's like a bizarre thing. I didn't even dream about them. I never even dreamt about them before I knew they were there. So you can imagine, you send those back to source and they've gone, you get your full pearl back, and that full pearl is your power, is your light, and then you are almost like fueled up. It's like your rocket fuel. Suddenly you're able then to quite quickly heal and release layers and layers and layers more quickly. And that's where I'm always looking at the pearl energy in someone and what it looks like. Does it feel bright, shining and big, or is it deflated, sunken, flat? It's really interesting. And you can give people back their pearl energy. Source allows that. Of course it does. It's your pearl energy. It's no one else's. It's your pearl energy. But that's the God spark, you see. So the pearl energy, the God spark, sitting in the higher heart, the 8th chakra. That is what they were trying to expel from the soul and the heart in the 2020 debacle. So you know what I'm talking about and what they offered as a solution. And I've spoken about this before briefly. That was targeting the God spark. And that was targeting the pearl energy. And it was targeting to expel the pearl energy out of the heart, so that the heart starts to shut down a little bit and go a little bit like they become less feeling, less empathy, more analytical. Their brain's in charge, not their heart. They can't hear their heart. They don't listen to their heart. Their heart's not part of the, part of the reality. If that makes sense. That's what and that's why we've got so many heart problems going on with people right now, is the link to the God spark and the pearl energy. So that's just another slant on it that I thought I'd mention. And I know as I say, this podcast is about my journey and talking to you about what I've had to clear and confront as I've gone on. And getting that pearl energy back was absolutely vital, and I'm very, very grateful to the souls that assisted in bringing that pearl energy back for me, because I needed help for that. And, you get help when you need it. Always. You ask for assistance, you'll get it. Always. And then I was just on a really fast track to heal. On a fast track. And of course, because I was set up and I was being handled and managed by someone who was long term in my life, as they would do that, of course, I come to a tipping point, don't I? I'm coming to a tipping point of full activation where the mind control comes completely off, and you are, you get your recall of your true core self, and you get your recall of the real reality that you may have had as a child, or blah blah blah. Now that's why they would try and suicide you, and they would want you to suicide, and that's why they put a program in you to do that. Because as soon as you get to that point, do they want you talking? No. Do they want you telling people what happened? No. Do they want to be revealed who you've seen and who tortured you in the first place, or who is involved, high profile, in this? No. Do they want you to reveal what royal British members of the royal family are involved? No. Do they want you to reveal what presidents are involved and prime ministers? No. Of course they don't. So, of course, they want you to die. I know that's the cold hard truth, but it is. They want you to die. So, that's why I had a long-term babysitter, handler, which they would do with everybody. They will do, no exceptions, they will do with everybody. And if it wasn't him, it would have been someone else. And I now know that in between marriages, there was someone in the backup waiting, just in case I didn't choose my husband. And I know who that person is now, because I've worked it out. And like, just think about it. If I'd tried to if I'd tried to go years earlier, where I still was under control of mind control in the fact that they had my pearl energy, right? It wouldn't have worked. I could have left, right? Not realised that I was where I was and what was happening, and I would have met someone else maybe. They would have set me up. They would have set me up with someone else, or they would have set me up with a good friend coming into my life who would be with me all the time, who would be able to do the job. Be able to do the job to handle me and activate me to suicide. So they would have all angles backed. All angles backed. So that's why really, for me, I am not in the position of wanting to ever live with anybody again, really, or have that sort of thing, because I don't feel that that would be appropriate for me to do. And no way am I going to get handled about it. Well, they can't. I'm fully compass mentis and back. So, they can't do that. But that's how they would attempt it. They would bring someone else to replace that person you were walking away from. And that's why it seems paranoid, but it's not paranoid. Because as a targeted individual, you have to watch who is around you. You have to look at all your friends. You have to look at all of your close acquaintances and think, are you trying to handle me? Are you trying to manage me? Yeah? It's not easy. It's not easy, and that's a sad thing. That's a sad thing in what you've been through, and then you have to still be careful. And you do have to be careful, and I am very blessed that I am very overlighted. I have the councils of light watching over me. I have light ships that are always with me. I am warned if there's anything incoming that might be a little bit. I'm warned. They're very good at being working with me to make sure I'm safe and everything that entails. And you do have to be aware of people coming into your life, even though I am such a friendly person and I love talking to people and I love being with people. And that's one thing I've missed a little bit by living on my own recently and whatever, is that I miss that. I miss having people around me. I miss having those conversations on a daily basis. But it's very necessary for me right now. And but you just got to be careful that there isn't someone coming in to your immediate circle that has got trouble in mind. Now, it could be they're mind controlled and they don't know. And that's so sad, because they consciously will not be showing any signs that they are controlled. You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. And they will be friendly and loving, but it's really interesting. I can really tell nowadays. I can really tell when someone is under the influence. I got that inner intuitive feeling. I know when something's off. All the times I've ever dreamt about someone in dream time, uh, and they keep coming in dream time, normally for me that means there's something off with them, and I'm being shown, and then it's happened. They have, and so I'm being warned, like, be careful, just be careful, um, and you know that's the reality of people that have been through this and what they have to put up with. And I've worked with others that are recovering from mind control, and they have had the same thing. And they've had light bulb moments when we've been talking, and they realise that someone close to them that's been with them for 16 years is actually handling them. And is what we mean that by that is they're being monitored, they're being controlled. They are reporting back to the energies and the frequencies and the beings and whatever that are wanting to control that person, and keep them quiet, or keep them in a particular energy or space or reality. So the person around them will be reporting back, or influencing them in a very clever way. And that was what was happening to me with my husband. So he was very clever in how he did it. I can see it now. Didn't want to handle the bank account, didn't want to handle any money, left all the bill paying, all the worrying, all the money transfers, everything to me. He didn't want to know, which is a form of control in itself, because that is a very clever way of putting all of the responsibility onto the other person, who then has to worry unnecessarily about things that should be shared and should be managed between you. And if we were, I don't know, like a big bill came in and we weren't expecting it, whatever, he didn't give a damn. He didn't, it was me who was having to try and find the money for that. What can I pay and I can't pay? Robbing Peter to pay Paul sort of thing. What can I not pay so I can cover that bill because it's like the car's broken down, or whatever it was. That's a form of control, a very clever form of control. Lots of other things I now see as red flags that I didn't see before. And that can happen in any relationship, where you're in a narcissistic relationship, or you're in a relationship where that other person is immature, won't take responsibility, is not a 50% partnership, who is expecting you to be their mother or whatever. Or if a man's listening to this and they're expecting you to be their father, if you're with another person where the woman's acting like that, you're always constantly trying to appease them and hold space for them and to protect them and to not worry them and to not and so you take the burden of the everyday strains all on you. And I think that's a natural for us as empaths anyway, and that we want to make everybody better. We want everybody to be happy, and that is people pleasing. That is also part of trauma response for any type of abuse you've been through as a child, or any type of scenario you've had as a child where you were parentified. You had to be the parent, and I had that running as well with my mum. Mum was under mind control, evidently. Oh God, it just goes on and on and on. My mum was very sort of that way of, I was like helping her as a child, and I had all my stuff going on at the same time. not taking responsibility to be that. And I don't know how I've been with my children, and there is a fallback now on my children and what's happened to them and what they have had to put up with me, how I was as a mother, as a younger woman. And I can see now, I'm sure there must have been times when I was, I wasn't what I should be. I don't mean abusive, but like, just like, I was in my own bubble anyway. I always was very good at encouraging them. I was very good at saying to them, you can be anything, you can do anything. Uh, and I wasn't critical. I don't think. I think I was encouraging, and I think they both said that they felt that I went a lot calmer when I woke up in 2009. I could get really like emotional and very like, but after 2009, when I woke up and started to meditate, started to try all these different ways for inner calm, they said I changed, and suddenly I was calm, in control. I was very steadfast with them, and quite sort of, they knew where they stood with me, and I was very supportive. So that's good. So at least they had enough time. They weren't youngsters when I woke up, but they were teenagers, or just coming into. One was a teenager, one was just coming into being a teenager. So at least they had those years with me where I was more calm and together. I wasn't fully out in the woods, but I had those coping skills, and I was giving that example to them of meditation, and doing all and little rituals and going to Glastonbury and taking them, and so I was giving them a little bit more of a spiritual background. So I'm pleased that I managed to wake up when I was 44, so that they had that part of me, at least, in those very important years for them. So that is a blessing, and that makes me feel so much better that they had that. But yeah, I do feel more liberated. I feel like someone who comes out and says they're gay or whatever. I imagine that's how it feels. You feel true and authentic for now. You've told everybody what happened. You're telling people who your true core self is, and it is liberating, because being authentic is your powerful core self. I mean, that's where we manifest from, and where we really get the work done and rise up in consciousness rapidly, when we reveal our truth, when we say who we are, when we align who we are with what we are every day, and how we appear to the world is us, in all our authenticity and truth. And not to be ashamed of that, no matter what you're telling someone about, or you're telling the world about, whatever it is. It just makes you feel more empowered, and actually gives you a sense of you're more in control of your life, with the divine, with your I am presence, and your heart leading the way, and my heart calling to me to speak. Please speak up, please talk, please tell people the experiences you've had. Tell them how difficult it's been to heal this. Tell them how difficult it's been to go into the darkness and the dark doors and the dark caves, and had to go in to find what it was that was holding me back. This pain that I felt, this burden, this heaviness that was on my back. What was this? Why do I feel this way? Why have I suffered from low self-esteem all my life? Why should I have low self-esteem? Yeah, that's what I was asking. Like, why have I got low self-esteem, low confidence? Why? I know I'm very capable, so why have I got it? And then realising why. Because of these big core wounds that I was carrying, that I didn't even know I had. And it's not easy. It's not easy to walk this path, no matter whether you've been through this or not. We've all been through trauma in our lives. So many people have been sexually abused. So many people have been astrally abused. So many people have had narcissistic parents. So many people have had narcissistic partners. So many people have had experiences and trauma, and some of them might not consciously know they've had that experience. They didn't realise it was abuse. They didn't realise it was trauma. I mean, oh my goodness me, there are so many different ways that we could be walking around with trauma or abuse, and we'd not even realise we've been abused. I mean, that's. I think I was listening to one of the Mark Atwood shows a while back, and him admitting that he got a memory that he'd been abused as a little boy in a hospital by, I don't know, a nurse or a doctor or someone while he was unconscious. Sorry, I'm just moving my legs, if you can hear that. And he'd only just got that back, that memory, because he disassociated like I did. Because you take yourself out of body. You can't be in body when you're being attacked like that. You just can't. And it's very easy as children to come out of body. So we do. And everything that happened to me in my childhood, I came out of body all the time. So my physical body was very unknown to me. And that makes so much sense with people that feel disconnected from their bodies. Because I'd spent as much time as I could out of my body. I didn't want to be in my body because that meant pain and trauma. So to be out of body and to be flying high amongst the stars or wherever I was the only way I got through it. And I do know now that I have a friend who is more than a friend. She is a soul ally, and she is very powerful, a very powerful master. And actually, she projected her Palladian, I think I might have said this before, she projected her Palladian star child at me as a child to reinforce me because of the level of trauma I was going through. They weren't sure whether I was going to survive it. So they projected like an energy of the Palladian star child into me to shore me up. Maybe even to prevent further like fragmentation. I don't know the full story, but that came in recently, and I knew about her projecting her Palladian star child at me because that came up a few years ago, 2-3 years ago. I got that information. I didn't know why. Like, what's that about? I know we're part of the same soul family, and then I'm being, it comes in the last couple of weeks. Like, oh no, that came in because that was shoring you up. So look at that, how they were trying to help me. They knew that, oh my goodness, I think we need some assistance here for her. And that person has been a quiet influence in my life since 2010 and has always been there for me in the background. And I fully understand why now. There to back me up, to make sure I'm okay, to assist when she can. I mean, just like, so grateful. So much gratitude for that. So there are people around you sometimes that are for your highest good. Of course they are. I'm not saying everybody's around you, and they are working to support you in your mission and your work. And I hope that when I meet people and I feel like I'm there and I've been sent to support them, I'm supporting you in your mission and wanting you to be the best and wanting you to get into your power so that you can fully illuminate and then fully alchemize what you're meant to alchemize. So there is a method to all of this madness in the true divine plan. So we can never judge, can we, anybody on what they're doing right now on this planet and why they're doing it. So that's why I look at people like Trump and others and I see You don't know what they're doing. Like on a soul level, what coming in as wrecking balls, coming in as people to shake the system up. Maybe looking like they're a baddie, but you don't know who they are. And also we do have evil incarnate on this planet. Yes, we do. And there are a lot of non-human beings here that look human, but they're not human. So they haven't got a heart or empathy. So they can be as heinous and evil as they can, and they've no humanity in them. They're not an angelic human soul. So, and I truly believe that the angelic human light body and blueprint, the angelic human soul, is not capable of great evil. They are not. We were made in the Creator's energy and blueprint, and we are not designed to murder and kill and maim each other and to do despicable and horrible things. Evil was not part of the plan for this planet. So they are influenced, they are implanted, they are mind controlled, they are, everything that turns them into what they are. And there are a lot on this planet that aren't even human. So, you might be looking at someone saying, how could they do that? Like anything. But actually, you may find out they're not even human. They're a clone, or or they're a Draco reptilian, shape shifting into a body. You know what I mean? You just don't know. And I know in my heart and soul that the humanity and the angelic human are inherently good and divine. All of us are divine. And when the chips are down and people are in trouble in neighbourhoods and streets and things, just look at how many people come out and try and help. They want to help. Someone has an accident. People are there like a shot, aren't they? Someone's run down. The people turn up like, I want to help. And that is inherently who we are. So I'm going to end it now. A hodgepodge of things I've spoken about, but just my biggest main message is I feel so liberated by speaking my truth. And the truth will set you free. That old saying is so true. The truth will set you free, and the truth shown to humanity will set us free. Yeah? The truth will set us free. The real truth. The real reality and truth of what's going on this planet will set us free. There we go. So I'm sending you all my love. Have a great week. I hope you're not getting bored of listening to me, but there's a lot of episodes. I know I'm talking. You can't stop me now. I'm talking. And as I say, if you want to buy me a coffee, please do, or a light cocktail or a cup of tea. And I have courses. I've got a course coming for abuse, which will is going to be very reasonable, and I'm just going to start working on that in the next few weeks. I've got my Ascension Stargate Keys Level 1, which is a home study course which covers lots of really powerful like master keys to total divine soul sovereignty, which I've been through myself to get to this point. And that's a home, you can just buy it and then study it in your own home with like 15D shielding techniques and all the general basic foundational things you need to really get you solid and rooted and planted, so you can build that bridge of sovereignty back to source. And I do readings, soul readings, and I do one-to-one sessions as well. And I do a range of starseed light body sprays, including protection sprays, emotional body releasing sprays. So, I've got that as well. And my grids. So they'll be in my new shop, in my store on my new website that's been launched in it might have already been launched by the time you listen to this. So anyway, thank you for listening. Goodbye. Till next time. Till next time, okay? And thank you so much, and bye.